Ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular pleasure to welcome you to Interswitch at 20 launch event, the Odyssey, blessing Africa's digital economy. It has been 20 years of innovation, 20 years of incredible milestones, 20 years of creative disruption, 20 years of being the market leader, 20 years of being an enabler. Ladies and gentlemen, for our opening remarks, I would like to welcome on stage the Executive Vice President, the Group Marketing and Corporate Communications, Cherry Eromosele. A round of applause for her.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to have every one of you here this evening to celebrate with us. Today, we kick off celebration of the 20 years Odyssey, a journey that began because one man and a few others believed that it was possible to change the way Africans transact. An Odyssey that has transformed Africa's digital economy, essentially changing the very fabric of our society and the way of life of millions of people. Today, Interswitch products and services power up millions of transactions across the African continent, but it wasn't always that way. The Interswitch story is a story of pioneering, daring, and believing against all odds. It is a story of seeing the big picture and staying the course, despite overwhelming odds. As our anniversary celebrations begin, we invite you to join us on the journey back to the beginning as we walk you through our 20 years Odyssey and celebrate our impact within the ecosystem and beyond, whilst looking ahead to the next 20 and beyond. However, we won't stop there. We would also share a glimpse of what is to come as we continue to push the boundaries of innovation to deliver payment solutions that enable commerce across Africa. At Interswitch, we are committed to inspiring Africa to greatness through innovation, value creation, and excellence. We will never stop pushing ahead to deliver a prosperous Africa, driven by a seamless exchange of value and commerce. Once again, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome.
Thank you. Far too kind. Can I get an encore? You want more? Cook and roll with the Brooklyn boys. So for one last time, I need y'all to roll. Now what the hell are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for tonight?
For one last time, make some noise. Get up, Jay. What the hell are you waiting for? There should be no more. For one last time, make some noise. What the hell are you waiting for? There should be no more. For one last time, make some noise. What the hell are you waiting for?
Come on, your highness. Princess here and dance behind us. Bring back some of the past to rewind us. Things to be happy, rewind us. Come on, your highness. Princess here and dance behind us. Smoke it, step in with the finance. Everyone's swag, swag and greatness. Show us, your highness. Papa Rasta, rich man, greatness. Say something decent, show us. That's where you go, man. Excuse me, I'm ready, baby. Prince, I'm born on the one on every young. When I start, I'm ready, go. This time, I'm ready, shot, I'm ready, go.
Who am I? I'm Abba. Who am I?
Alternate sound.
And right about now, we'd like to take a goodwill message from the chairman, Interswitch Group, Sir Kenneth Olisa, OBE.
Greetings from London. I'm very sorry I can't be with you in person today. I must start out by congratulating Mick to the team on making 2 decades. Actually, this is a really big deal today, as opposed to just a birthday party. If anybody in the audience is old enough to remember what life was like 20 years ago, it is almost impossible to imagine that Mick and his colleagues had the bravado, the sheer audacity to come up with the idea of what is now Africa's greatest unicorn, Interswitch. Congratulations to Mitch and all of his colleagues who had that vision. So you should be very proud of what we're celebrating today, which is 20 years from that mad vision to what's been achieved today. It hasn't been an easy journey, but now, 2 decades on, the same length of time that it took Odysseus to get back home again, we are celebrating the creation of a real African unicorn, an enormous tech business that stands head and shoulders above some of the Johnny-come-latelys were bragging about their relatively trivial technology. And we're now ready to make the next big push. I'd love you all to join me, I should say, in a drink to celebrate the success of the last 20 years and to look forward to the next decades ahead. So with that, may I just ask you all to give a big cheer to Mitch and the founders for what is a brilliant achievement. And I wish you all a very happy 20th birthday. And now let's really get on with the party. Happy birthday. Well done.
Let me tell you a story. Our story blooms over 2 decades ago in a humble university dorm room
where the weight of the dark put a strain on our hands, a stain on the sheet where we mapped out our plans. But innovation lit our eyes with a fire to blaze the trail, to change Africa, one solution, one transaction at a time. Our ears listen to the chime, the buzzing tune of bright ideas. We stretch out our hands, and remember what we did? We flipped the switch. We flipped the switch and we didn't stop there. Dreamed the dream of pioneers. Dug down to the depths of our flesh and found courage to face our fears. They told us it was absurd to think like this. You see, back then here it was said unicorns don't exist, but we do, and we persist, shaping life where culture meets future, weaving you the tools to build tomorrow from imagination. We have found a light that cannot be dimmed. We will not stop. We cannot be brimmed. We flipped the switch. It is no ordinary motion. It was to herald a new notion. It is a champion's charge, your invitation. To stand on our shoulders, it is your time for elevation. So go ahead, flip that switch. Build that business. Scale that hitch. Africa's future is waiting on us. And what looks like the sky is only the dew. We are on the brink of something new. Because at Interswitch, we never stop. So you don't stop.
It is my singular pleasure to invite the visionary. Please, I would like you to start clapping as we invite the founder and the group managing director of Interswitch Group, Mitel Elebe.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here today at this landmark occasion. Today, as we flag off our celebrations, there's quite a lot of excitement within Interswitch, but also some deep reflections as we look back on the journey of the last 2 decades, 20 years of transforming Africa's digital economy. Beyond the general feeling of celebration, for me, and I'm sure a few others who have been on this journey long enough, this anniversary is an opportunity to truly appreciate just how far we have come since we flipped the switch. As I cast my mind back to 2 decades ago, I recall how we launched out, armed with a bold vision, a strong desire to cause a change, and a deep hunger to enrich the lives of Africans. We didn't set out to be the first or to jump into a thriving fintech space. In fact, fintech had not really emerged as a concept in Nigeria at the time. Interswitch was founded to solve a social problem, to make people's lives easier when it came to payments, transactions, and accessing their funds. We saw a way to do this by developing products and services with the consumer at the heart, leading with technology and innovation. However, no matter how noble our intentions were, the journey wasn't always smooth sailing. While we navigated uncharted waters, there were times where we pushed ahead with absolutely no assurances and buoyed up by just sheer tenacity and grit. All those times, the big picture kept us going. Our dream to deliver a prosperous Africa driven by seamless exchange of value and commerce. This was the foundation upon which QuickTeller and Verve were created. Born from our mission to solve problems for individuals to make everyday payments, to help connect and simplify the lives of our consumers across the continent. Today, Verve is a leading player in the card market, having onboarded over 200 direct scheme members across the continent and firmly consolidating its growing market share in Nigeria in terms of card issuance. To date, Verve has issued over 35 million active payment cards, as well as combined aggregates of well over 50 million tokens, a combination of both physical plastic and digital payment tokens. QuickTeller, our consumer services platform, has continued to expand with over 270,000 access points today and actively expanding its robust offerings to include real estate, energy solutions, and lending. Today, Interswitch is a sustainable business that not only operates the largest domestic card scheme in Africa, which is Verve, and one of the most popular payment platforms on the continent, QuickTeller, but it's also backed by and partnered with global players such as Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, and the Diners Club. Interswitch has always been focused on the bigger picture with the understanding that going it alone is not the answer and that we do better by working together. Building a profitable, thriving business has been important. But in order to achieve our purpose of inspiring Africa to greatness, we have to play our part in providing an enabling environment for the ecosystem as a whole to thrive. And we are proud to have played a key role in enabling this growth. Today, we are deeply rooted in the payments value chain, providing services to over 200 financial institutions and fintechs and more than 180,000 merchants across Nigeria. Interswitch is helping to overcome the lack of infrastructure and reduce societal gaps by bringing financial inclusion to underserved communities through our network of over 32,000 Interswitch agents. By bringing these services to those who lack access to traditional banking, we enable more individuals and small businesses to participate in the economic development and growth of the country. This is a legacy that Interswitch is proud of, helping to support the ecosystem in which innovation has continued to thrive as we jointly build the Africa of our dreams. As we look ahead, we see enormous potential for future growth and the furthering of our vision. The payments business is rapidly evolving. Customer needs and challenges are changing, and technology also continues to evolve. At Interswitch, we are very focused on innovation and understanding how to use the tools at our disposal to meet these demands. Building strong partnerships are, of course, a key part of this. And with the increasing adoption of technology and digital payments across Nigeria and Africa, opportunities to broaden the payments landscape continue to present themselves. We will continue to look across the entire value chain to pursue opportunities in industry verticals across Nigeria and Africa where we feel we can apply our technology to help solve challenges. Nigeria is fast becoming the tech capital of Africa, with one of the fastest growing tech markets in the world. The runway for growth remains significant. 16% of Nigeria is unbanked and underbanked, and 85% of transactions in sub-Saharan Africa still occur in cash. With such tremendous potential still untapped, today we make a commitment to never stop innovating and evolving as we continue to deliver value to our customers, investors, and all stakeholders. And in turn, this is a call for you to keep building those dreams and expanding into new frontiers with the assurance that Interswitch will never stop developing the technologies and solutions to support your ambitions. To our customers, employees, investors, regulators, and all stakeholders, we couldn't have made it this far without you. Some of you took a chance on us 2 decades ago and gave us the opportunity to actually take off as we chased our dream. The fact is that all of you have taken a chance on us at some point in our journey. Therefore, at this important milestone, I would like to take this opportunity to appreciate each of you and to specially invite you to join in our celebrations. Beyond just inviting you, I encourage you to see this as your celebration as much as ours. You have been an integral part of our story. On this note, I'd like to say a very big thank you to you all once again and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Please, one more time, can we put our hands together for Interswitch? Amazing. What a journey this has been. A wise man once said that if you want to go fast, then go alone. But if you want to go far, you have to go with others. Yes, one man had the vision, but one man could not actualize the vision. And there were people with him that collaborated with him, that held his hands to make sure that this vision came to life. We'll call them the day ones.
Good evening, everyone. All right, awesome. My name is Waimi Ogu, and I'll be moderating the panel session this evening. And just to put it out there, I'm a proud staff of Interswitch. Woo! In no particular order, I would like to introduce the Group Managing Director and Founder of Interswitch, Michel Elegbe. A round of applause, please. Please keep on clapping till he gets here. We call him our loving GMD. And next on the panel this evening is Akeem Lawal. He is the MD Pure Pay Interswitch. We call him the Professor. You'll find out later on. All right, a round of applause for Akeem Lawal. And next, we call her the Gospel of the Switch. And I'm not going to talk too much because you will find out. I'm trying to imitate her. I don't know if you're getting me. So I'm going to invite Oremeyi Aka. She's our Chief Customer Service Officer. Just look at that. Is the color matching for me? Please, a round of applause. Oremeyi. Oh, yes. All right. And I'd also like to invite Baba Femi Ogunbamila. A round of applause for him. He's our Chief Information Officer. We call him the Silence Machine. You will know why. I'm sure he's surprised. He has never heard it before. And I'm also going to invite Vincent Ogubude. MD Payment Tokens Interswitch. We call him the boss. Aha, yes, the boss. That's what we call you. Words on the street. Are we done? Oh, there's one more seat left. I'm wondering why. I hear that Mitchell has a surprise for us.
You know, when Cherry EVP Marketing told me that there will be a session for the originals, I immediately began to think about some other originals that perhaps wouldn't have been here today if we didn't reach out to them to let them know. Now, the story of Interswitch is not complete if you don't talk about the very beginning and those who believed in us. It was almost inconceivable that you can approach a bank to say, as a third party, you want to connect to their core banking platform and have access to their customers because you are something called a switch. There were certain individuals that believed in that concept and that dream. They were employees of banks, but they spent quality time helping us to fashion out this thing we were trying to do. I'm happy to say that I see a few of them in the room, and in no particular order, I'd like to specially recognize Mr. Taiwo Titi. When Mr. Taiwo Titi was working for First Bank, and he basically was chairman of what we used to call the technical committee, trying to advise us on the best way to achieve this objective of connecting to the banks. I've not seen Mr. Titi for maybe more than 5 years now, so I'm very happy that when we reached out to him, I was able to take time out to just join us this evening. So thank you very much. Another original in the room is Mr. Chukwukaimua.
Yeah, Mr. Okay.
Mr. Ebuwa was in UBA when we started. Again, just like Taiwo Titi, he played a very critical role in Interswitch starting. There's one original. A few days ago, I got a call from Charles Ifedi to say he's in town. So Charles, if you don't mind, that seat is reserved for you. So while Charles is coming, let me say a few things about Charles. So Charles is one of those who had the boldness some of us do not have. You know, when you manage to start something and the thing is doing well, you just want to stay there. You don't want to try yourself. After doing it for some time, Charles said he was bold enough to try something else, to start another venture, which he has started, and he's doing quite well. I'm a proud investor, by the way, in that venture. Okay? But like I said, Charles is always a member of the family. He was there from day one. So Charles, thank you very much.
Just a quick exercise for everyone seated here. Can you just close your eyes? I want you to just imagine the first scene or picture that comes to your mind in the first days, first month, first year of Interswitch.
2 decades ago, we flipped the switch, flooded the dark continent with light, created an industry, opened the doors that ushered in the future. Africa is emerging, visionaries are evolving, but it wasn't always this way. Before the beginning, cash ruled the streets and crime was its aid. Africa was groping, coping with the darkness, until we founded the switch and turned on the future. 20 years after, the dark continent is now bursting with innovation, and we're just getting started. Until Africa is borderless, limitless, we are never stopping. Welcome to the Odyssey, the first experience. The future begins today.
During youth service, I was working for a company called CSA. I think they're not called Neptune Software. And part of my job was to install Swift for banks as a copper. And it was difficult to understand the concept of SWIFT, you know. When I finally understood it, it turned out that it was something for more of corporates than individuals. But I thought the problem to be solved should be for individuals. So that was what packed it. So that was when the first idea of what will be retail payments, if this is corporate payments. That was when the first hit me. Then I got a job with Schlumberger, traveled abroad. Like every Nigerian then, I took cash with me, all the cash I could gather from friends and family. So I was living on that until the cash got exhausted. And finally, I had to resort to my bank. I was in Scotland, and my bank was in the US. Never been to the US before, never been to the bank. All I had was a Visa card. So after cash got finished, I decided to go use the ATM to withdraw cash. And the ATM swallowed my card. So you can imagine the horror. I stood there praying, begging the ATM to release my card to me, because that was the only way I knew of getting money. I'd run out of cash. And the ATM did not hear my prayers. I would run to my house, which was not too far from the ATM, open the curtain and sit there and be watching if the card will come out, you know. And I did that for a very long time. Finally, on Monday, I complained at the office, and a new card was sent to me. During that experience, I told myself I was going to conquer this technology kind of mindset. So that, again, was part of what led to this. And then finally, when I came back to Nigeria, I wanted some cash from my bank to do certain things. And for whatever reason, I had to make a phone call, and they asked me for my mother's maiden name. And for whatever reason, at that moment, I forgot. What was my mother's name before she got married? I couldn't remember. Again, the bank said, if you cannot remember your mother's maiden name, which is one of the security passwords I had, clearly it cannot be used. So all of these things got me thinking about what really is it about this environment that we can't have what they have abroad. Okay? How could you be living in one country and your bank is in a totally different country and you'll be fine? And then when you look at all the social problems in Nigeria, it got to a point whereby we just realized that we had to solve this problem.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. So it's safe to say that that challenge, that bad experience, there's an opportunity there to plug in. Thank you, Mitchell, for that. So I'm going to be directing questions at certain people here, but please feel free to chime in. What was the payment landscape in Nigeria when you made the choice to join Interswitch? I think I would let Mr. Charles take this question.
I'll tell you a story. The very first time for one particular bank that we connected Vincent was the chief connector of ATMs in those days. The very first time we connected a bank's ATM, and we had like a mini event. So their CEO was there, a couple of people were there, and there was a queue just to show them how ATMs work. And one of the executives in the bank, like during the queue, like he was doing the demonstration, put the card into an ATM, collect money, and somebody walks up to me and tells me that person inside that machine, he's very fast. So his assumption was that you put your card into the ATM, somebody inside receives the instruction, counts the money, and passes it out. So you can imagine the amount of knowledge. So there was, beyond the infrastructure that I needed to build, there's so much knowledge that we also needed to transmit and culture that we had to create in the country. So that was the landscape that I can really remember.
Wow. Please, a round of applause, please. Just when he was speaking, I was just thinking about Gen Zs. They can never really understand the struggle of going to the bank and standing, or when your mom sends you to go to the bank to pay money, the stress. I think we should thank you guys for that. All right. So I'll direct this question to Akeem. When Interswitch started, the solutions were not really in demand, and the odds were stacked against us. So what inspired you to take that leap, given the circumstance at that time?
All right, thanks for it. I was looking at you with corner eye, so you're not asking me hard questions. You're still trying yourself. We'll see in the office. So I'll try and answer your questions in two sides. Just to kind of explain how difficult it was before I talk about what really inspired me. I think my first major, should I describe it as shock or surprise or challenging experience, was in the very early days when we were going bank to bank, Charles, Mitchell, and I, to try and convince them to join the switch, right? We had gone to one of the banks who was one of our early investors to basically tell them, okay, now that you're an investor, it's time, come and join, you've paid so much money, come and connect. And the Oga there basically told us that in this market, where there's no power, there's no network, telecoms or GSM license were just issued. You people want to build an online, real-time payment infrastructure. Are you people thinking correctly? It will never work. You know, when you take that kind of feedback, you kind of have to go back and dig deep to kind of understand why exactly is it that you're doing what you're doing. And I think for me, what was the drive, the motivation, came from a conversation that Mitchell and I had when he had called me and said I should come and join him on this story. And what he has said was this: there are problems in this country that nobody from abroad is going to come and solve. Right? There are issues that they cannot even understand because they are not here. Right? You that went to school, did engineering, made first class, where are you going to use all of that knowledge? Where are you going to use it? Are you going to use it to solve some of these problems? Or are you going to use it to go and work for Shell or Chevron? And it kind of spoke to one of the things that drove me, because I think I found my calling and my passion very early, is if I cannot use all I've learned and all I continue to learn to solve some of these challenges, who is going to solve them, right? How are we going to take this entire country forward? And as long as there are problems to solve and challenges to overcome and issues to fix and innovations to do, I think that's what's been driving me.
All right. What I picked from Akim's statement is that we are the solutions to the problems that we have in this country, in this space. No one will do it for us. So thank you, Akim, for that response. The next question will be for our lovely lady, Oremei. So I told everyone to close their eyes at the start. So now this is why. I would like you to share with us some of your strongest memories you've had from that time.
2002, I was a copper. I was just looking for a place to get to that will accept me so I can do my monthly clearance. So I had met Mitchell during my IT, and he said, oh, when you finish school, we are working on a project, call me. I called the landline because really there was no GSM line. And then he said, oh, come to if you are posted to Lagos, come to the office. There was a lineup of interviews. They were interviewing coppers. There were other people in the lobby. When I came, we wrote a test, we did an interview, and I got accepted. So when we're done, I had to ask, I said, what is this company? What are we doing? So Mitchell said, we are going to, we'll put ATMs, so there will be POS, cards. I was just saying in my mind, one chance, there was no, if it's now, maybe as he's talking, you quickly use Google to just check ATM. I didn't even know what ATM meant. So when I got home, my mom called me and said, your sister said you got a play. I said, thank God, oh. She said, what? I said, Mommy, we are going to do ATMs, POS, so that you won't go to the bank. You will just take your money from a card. My mom was silent for like 2 minutes. And she now said, after NYSC, you will live there. Meaning, this thing you said does not make sense, but it's okay. At least it's NYSC. That I remember. I also remember once, a few of my friends were all in Uniben, and everybody was saying, where are you serving? MTN, wow. You, UBA? Where Shell? What of you? Interswitch. What do they do? I now said, I started the story, ATM, POS. When they finished, they looked at me and said, okay, like cyber cafe. It's already embarrassed, So that's some memories. But I remember the drive. I remember there was this big ATM. It was the first ATM I'd ever seen. It was so big. And then we used to try to make it work, and we couldn't. So in my mind, if Vincent and Baba Femi could not make it work, who am I, a copper? But there was one night, I remember, and there was a call. Someone was screaming on the other side of the phone, saying, enter your card, it's in service. That was the first time we had seen an ATM go into service. It was Vincent. And, he was so excited. And Vincent, sorry I'm sharing your story, but that story, but for me, it was hope. Because this is me, copper, trying to see where there's road. And then this big machine that had been oppressing us for months, we couldn't take it live, or we couldn't take it into service. Now it had gone into service. It was a Friday night. It was around 7, 8 p.m. But we all rushed back to the test site of the ATM. We're just awed, like, wow, enter your card. When an ATM is set and light is blinking, it was like, oh my God, as if we're seeing Mars or something so amazing. I remember those times.
I think there's a very important part of this story that Remy has not mentioned. Let me mention it. So, I did not know the struggles she was going through with friends and family, being a copper in a startup. But what she did not say is that she used to come to ask me questions. So this thing we are doing, what exactly? So I didn't know it was coming from questions from friends and family. But there was something I picked up. And it led me to do something, and I want to share that. Oreme is staff number 1 in Interswitch. I am staff number 2. Okay? So all the while we were speaking all this grammar, when I was recruiting people, I was project manager. I was not even MD. So out of fear that we may lose this copper, I quickly went to write offer letter. That's how she became staff. Even me, I didn't have an employment then. So I had to quickly give her. There was a reason why. She actually did serve with me, or not with me directly, with the same company I worked for, that is Telnet, for Interswitch. And one weekend, I came to the office, and I saw her working in the office on a weekend. She was an IT student. And I said, what are you doing here? She said, oh, there was this project that was done. She came to label patch codes. Now, I can understand you labeling patch code on Monday or Tuesday to Friday. Normal work, they have to be in the office. I couldn't understand you leaving your home to come to the office on the weekend to label patch code. Nobody's going to flog you if you did not do it. It was then I knew that somebody who can have this kind of level of commitment, we need this kind of person in the kind of company we wanted to create. So I took her to where we now call our building 1, put my hand on her shoulders, and I was showing her an empty building. This is where it's going to be our office, this is our first building, and so on and so forth. They quickly offered her employment letter, because at that time, it was just grammar we were speaking. I was afraid. Like Akim said, we agreed that nobody was going to solve our problem for us. We had no knowledge of banking, had no knowledge of payments. We only knew the problem. And we had very little money at our disposal. So we told ourselves, you remember in those days, to come to Nigeria from South Africa, you only get flights, I think, once a week. So we told ourselves, if we want to build a payment system and rely on South Africans, but the technology we had there was for the country of South Africa, if something goes wrong, are we going to tell the banks to wait for 1 week for the next person to fly down? So we decided to fly to South Africa to build the switch. It was a very lean budget. We planned to stay for 2 weeks. Of course, what you thought would happen in 2 weeks was going to take longer. So at some point, we were running out of money, so we had to reduce the number of rooms we had to share rooms. And we told ourselves that we're going to tear down whatever we have built, come back to Lagos and rebuild it ourselves. From the very first day that we came back, we started trying to rebuild what we built in South Africa that we tore down. That explains some of the tension that people like Vincent experienced, because he had been trained there. You know, when you receive training and then you come back, you cannot deliver it. So we're working till late. And I think that day it was about 10 p.m. I think Akim was in my office also, when Vincent called. And he was screaming on the phone. And I thought maybe he was being electrocuted or something of that nature. It was later I began to understand what he was saying, that the ATM had come online, that it is working. So the point is that some of these things were the things that inspired us. These were part of the days when we were really inspired by the things that our colleagues were doing. And they just kept telling us that if you just keep pushing and keep pushing, one success will lead to another and to another and to another. And that is the story that we're really sharing today.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Such an honor to be seated by the number one staff. Let me touch you quickly. All right, the next question will be for Vincent. How would you find the success of that Interswitch has made? How would you define it in the last 2 decades in Nigeria and Africa, the impact?
I think the success is actually quite visible. There's no denying the fact that a lot of things that we've achieved within the market today, Interswitch had set the foundation. So I think the fact that we can consider Nigeria as quite advanced when it comes to payments, services, and technology is on account of the work and efforts that we have put in as a company. And I guess that's it's very apt to say that we helped to birth, that kind of ecosystem, and that's what people are riding off now. So yes, that's what I feel. But I also wanted to touch on something, which is the popular urban legend that Oremi talked about, and the day that I happened to be screaming on the phone. Maybe what I've not mentioned is that's happened out of intimidation, and I'll explain what I mean. So I was working with an awesome team. You have a Mitchell that's a visionary, and he could paint a picture you could actually see as he's speaking and talking about it. So I was wowed by that. Then you had an Akim that I can best describe him as a maverick. He just was very intelligent, high IQ. When he speaks, at that time when he would address us, I would just be timid in one corner because the best I could do is just nod my head. Then you had Charles that could take a look at a situation and identify something that everybody missed. So I had that team and I looked at myself and I said, what do I have? Apart from my good looks. Hello. So that's all I had. So for me, it was a case of I needed to prove myself. And like Mitchell mentioned, we had traveled, we had all the training, and then we came back to replicate what we had learned. And it started one day, it stretched to weeks. And I said, there's no way I can leave this without, making a mark. So I had to prove myself there. And that's why I stayed that late. And that's how come the excitement was. So I felt at that point, at least, they would start to see that I was not underqualified. So that's the story behind it. But I just wanted to mention.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. By the way, you're very handsome, just to put it on. All right. So this question will be for Baba Femi. Many organizations, start. And it's very difficult to still find founding members still in those organizations. And in this case, Interswitch, 20 years after. In a nutshell, let me just ask the question, why are you still here? Why have you not jackpot?
It's a good question, actually. I think the answer is rooted in the reason why I joined the company in the first place, right? I think very early on, I had always wanted to help solve a problem, right? It's a big one, right? And I think I spoke with Mitchell at some point when I was doing my NYSC, and he explained what this thing was meant to be. Or I mean, I understood it when he explained it. You know, so, and I felt that this was really going to change things, because I had a challenge, right, with payment as well. It's a small problem. I didn't have cash, so I didn't have any cash in the bank, so that was not my problem. But again, I just wanted to be able to pay some of the subscriptions that I was interested in. I think IEEE it was then. I couldn't pay. The only way to pay was to go and buy dollars and then mail the dollars, you know, to the US. So I kind of saw that this was going to solve the problem. So it was going to solve a problem, right? And since then, we've been solving problems on problems upon problems upon problems. And it's not going to stop, because we are changing as human beings. Our values are changing. Technology is changing itself. So, but the mere fact that things are changing, we have to continue to evolve ourselves and change the system as well. So there are always going to be new problems. And Michelle also said earlier that we've never begun to scratch the surface. We've just done 20% of what payments is, or even less than that. So there's a lot more problems to solve. And perhaps the third thing is that you get to work with amazing people like this. Right? So why would you want to go and do it?
Exactly. All right. So I think one thing that's consistent in everybody's statement is that they always want to solve problems. They are problem solvers. As we round off the panel, I'd just like to ask this question. Interswitch has won awards globally. We've also, created a whole industry, if I must say, and we've consistently driven the digital economy. So is there still more to do? I know it's an obvious question, but it would be nice to hear from Mitchell. Is there still more to do? What do you think lies ahead?
Definitely, there's still a lot. The successes we have seen so far basically gives an idea of what is possible if we can replicate this in many areas. What we have seen so far is basically what has been done in the financial sector. All of this innovation is around banking and financial services. Begin to imagine if we take the same mindset into transportation. So the entire transportation system in the country can be digitized, and you create an entirely new economy, new organizations that will thrive in that space. If you go to healthcare, it's the same thing. We need to digitize healthcare. Every Nigerian must have some sort of health insurance scheme. Same thing in education. Okay? Same thing in retail. So a lot of work still needs to be done. The reason why we still have over 80% of transactions in cash is because a lot of the areas where cash is being used have still not been digitized. It's as simple as that. So what we have done in banking, we can take it to healthcare, we can take it to transportation, and to me, that is the next drive for a company like Interswitch to the future. Can we take the learnings from one sector and begin to replicate it in other sectors? And we do not want to wait for 20 years to do one more sector. So how to accelerate that development becomes critical going forward. And that to me will be the focus as we move into the future.
Thank you very much. A round of applause. So we've come to the end, but just a quick one. I would like each of them, each of you, to just give us that statement or that mantra that you live by or motivates you. So I would like to hear from Akeem, Mitchell, Oremei, Babafemi, Vincent, and Charles. What's that word? What's that statement? What's that mantra?
There's always a solution.
Please, did you hear that? There is always a solution. All right?
Can I ask you? I'm sitting here. Let you ask.
All right, Charles.
Always apply yourself.
Always apply yourself. Okay? Vincent?
Okay, it's a bit trickier. I won't say it's a single mantra, but there are three things that I would say that I've lived by.
Okay.
One is ensure that you stay relevant, so continue to grow in terms of knowledge
Okay.
and what you do. continue to be a better version of yourself. Second thing I think is important is attitude.
Attitude.
And, you're judged by, your character, quality of your character. And then the third thing is in line with what Akim said, is perseverance. There's nothing that is too big that you cannot overcome once you put your mind to it. And those are the things that I
Awesome,
consider.
awesome. Thank you so much, Vincent. Baba Femi?
Strongly to come up with a mantra.
Or just give us a closing statement.
But I think the one thing that comes to mind every time I think about that is a conversation I had with Akim very early on when I was trying to work on a problem. I think it was the first mobile banking solution, M-banking, Glo M-banking. And I worked with Akim. Akim is my boss. He should solve all my problems. And I explained the issue to him, and he tells me, he looks at me and says, well, if you can't solve the problem, nobody else can. And I've lived by that since then, because what it means is that the buck stops with you. Just do it. Solve it.
Yeah.
It's about being deliberate, not to just get lost in the crowd. And I relate it to something Apostle Paul said in the Bible. Paul said, in a race, many run. Well, he said, run to win. People ask me, why have you been here 20 years? I tell them because Interswitch is not a job. It is a vision. For me, the mantra is really about running to win in your purpose. Connecting your everyday work, the privilege to work in a place where I can see my daily work connect to my purpose as a person. I count myself very privileged. It's important to connect your daily work to solving real problems, not just making money, but solving real problems, running to win.
Amazing, amazing.
Like everybody else, there are many of them, but there's one that really excites me, which is every challenge comes with its opportunity. So embrace your challenges and seek opportunities from those challenges.
All right. Round of applause as we usher our panelists back to their seats. Thank you so much. Round of applause, please, as they go. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we'd like to make welcome the Managing Director, Interswitch, Pure Pay, Mr. Akim Lawal, for his closing remarks.
We've had the opportunity to reminisce on the past. We've heard the Interswitch story. We've kind of understood some of the motivations and the drives that have brought us to where we are. So I would like to especially thank our friends, our partners, our customers who have made it out of their busy schedules to join us today, right? I will start with our day one originals. Mitchell has acknowledged them. Those who believed in us when there was nothing to believe in. We thank you for your support. There are those of you who have joined us along the way, either as staff or as customers or as partners. The story that we're telling today is not only about the day ones and the originals. It's a story of 20 years. It's a story of contribution from so many people that we cannot even begin to thank and acknowledge. All of the help and contribution, the challenge that you've challenged us, the support that you've given us, the encouragement that you've given us in some of our darkest and most difficult times. And I really want to say thank you because we appreciate everything that you have done to bring us here. We're looking forward with hope to the next 20 years. We're looking forward with hope to the solutions and the creations that we're going to bring forward that is going to help change the face of the industry again. But we're also hoping that some of you who've been here today and who will listen to this are also encouraged with the hope that you yourselves will begin to create and build and support the vision to create and transform the digital ecosystem of Nigeria over the next 20 years. And you can be sure that as Interswitch, we will work with you, we will support you, and we'll provide the rails to support you as partners and as customers to get there as well. Thank you so very much. Finally, I think it's not possible to end this evening without saying a big thank you to the Interswitch staff. From those who have helped to organize today's event, from those who have worked behind the scenes to make it possible for us to do what we've done today, for those who have worked hard and tirelessly over long nights to build the company that we're celebrating today, and for those of you who will be joining us as we take this journey forward into the future. It's a big thank you. Today's celebration is as much for you as it is for everyone who is sitting here today. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a safe and pleasant journey home. Thank you so much.